This video is going to cover my 2016 Honorable Mention for the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship, which is a program. So the Graduate Research Fellowship program has application cycles, and this was the 2016 applications / awarding cycle. Our applications were due in 2015. I think it was like September 2015 or something like that. And then we heard in approximately March whether we received it or not, or if we got an honorable mention. There were kind of three tiers. There was not receiving it. There was an honorable mention, which was like, good application, but you're not worth the money. And then there were the people who actually like were awarded or received it or were accepted or whatever. And they were good application and you're worth the money. Okay, and so, the money was approximately $35,000 a year for 3 years. So if I had gotten it, that would be like, I would have gotten my salary from the National Science Foundation instead of University of California, Berkeley, which did not happen as I did not get it. Okay. In my experience, those who received the award or a different graduate fellowship, they were kind of, the National Science Foundation program was one of, there were some through the Department of Defense, Department of Energy. This is in the United States of America, the National Science Foundation in the United States of America. So there were a bunch of different ones people could apply for. In my experience, those who received one of these fellowships earned a reputation of checks and balances, deemed a trio of 1, prestige, 2, power, and 3, privilege. And I would say, in my experience, I was attending the University of California, Berkeley. I was in the PhD program in Geophysics, and I applied in the Geosciences other specified category of Volcanology. And for this particular application, and I would say at a place where payment was actually an issue for those of us, and especially those of us who were not on fellowship, who getting their money from not the university, which had payment problems, there was, I would almost say, a little bit of not disrespect, but resentment of the people who did earn the fellowships, because they didn't have the same problems we did, right? We were like, I just didn't get my paycheck that covers my rent. Now what am I gonna do? Right? It's my income. And I actually had that problem happen. And so there was a little bit of, for the most part, it was kind of like, okay, they're better off than the rest of us, if none other than like where their money's coming from and like what program. However, there were like the flare-ups of, I didn't get paid and I need to pay rent, that where it was like, wow, that fellowship they got is really quite profoundly privileged, kind of thing. And so they also get prestige and power, right? They got the prestige of winning this fellowship. They got the prestige of getting, I guess that's maybe power too, of actually getting the money. But they also got, like, they get to put it on their resume. They got the power. I think probably the biggest thing is actually power with an award or a fellowship is they kind of got to choose. They weren't funded by a certain grant proposal from a professor. They could choose what they researched to some extent, and far more so than those of us who were funded on a specific grant and we had to do research related to that grant. Right? So they had freedom, which is a privilege that the rest of us did not have. Okay, and so I submitted it in 2015, which was the Obama-Biden administration, and then I received an honorable mention in the Obama-Biden administration. And this is not the one I talked about in a previous video, I think it was yesterday, with the Kyle Chalmers 2016 Summer Olympic Games 100-meter freestyle gold medal. This isn't the one I talked about there, about pointing somebody to another person and then them winning this same fellowship in a different year. That was the 2017 cycle, and I'm still thinking of doing that video, talking about my application then. But this is kind of an introduction to the award, and since the feedback I got was much shorter, I thought my introduction to the award in this video was more fitting. And then I'll do that one tomorrow or the next day, if I get it done. I might wait 2 days and do it. Would it be Wednesday or something like that? Okay, so there were 109 awardees as well as 147 honorable mentions in the Geosciences. So they had, when we submitted our applications, we had to declare a field of study. And so mine was Geosciences. So those are the numbers. There was only one awardee and or honorable mention out of all 256 of those people who in the field of study Geosciences, other specified volcanology, and that was me, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. So I was #1 in volcanology in the United States of America per the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship that year. It happened that way the following year as well. The numbers were different though. Okay, so that's the introduction and a little bit about the award. So essentially I send it in, there's reviewers review these applications, rank them all, there's transcripts, there's a bunch of stuff in addition to essays and like proposals that have to be written kind of thing that gets sent in as well. So they review them and then they write out feedback and we got the feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you what the feedback was that resulted in me getting this honorable mention instead of the award, or not getting the award, right? I was in the, well, it could have gone better and it could have gone worse category, which I thought was, well, I choose to frame it as positive. Okay, and so they assessed us on IM, intellectual merit, broader impacts, so BI, and then there was like the overall evaluation. So I'm going to read you the overall evaluation, overall summary. So, and I had 3 reviewers. So here we go. Reviewer #1. This is what they wrote for my entire application. Summary comments. Strong applicant with broad research experiences. Very clear personal and research statements and well-designed research plan. That was the first one. That's literally, it was 2 sentences. The next one, so reviewer #2, this one, summary comments, overall assessment is a well-documented, high-risk, potentially high-reward project. 1 sentence. It's even dry. Okay. And then the third reviewer, overall summary, this one is 3 sentences. This is the third reviewer, 3 sentences. Summary comments. The applicant conveys a strong passion for volcanology and has an extensive amount of prior research and professional experiences. The proposal is well defined with testable hypotheses and concrete research plans. Strong recommendations from 3 academic advisors suggest the applicant's outstanding potential to become a young leader in the field. So that was reviewer #3. Okay, so in conclusion, they weren't very long. Except for that last one maybe. I'm allowed to read this because to date, I do not know who reviewed them. So this is blind information that we are allowed to share. Some people actually publish this kind of stuff online. I'm doing this in video form, kind of and one step in between, you know, so if somebody who did review me or something like that, they don't stumble upon it and go, that's my writing, be like, okay, well, I'll assign you reviewer 1, reviewer 2, reviewer 3, give you credit that way, but you didn't give me your name at the time, kind of thing, and I'm not putting the writing out there, I'm reading it. Different medium, as like a way of protecting them, so to speak. I did find concern, there was the feedback was so short that we were like, okay, if we can, I'll apply next year as well, because I could apply twice at that point in time. That was still possible. This was just a little bit of concern, like, well, yeah, we'll go through it, but it'd be nice if there was more feedback than, like, you know, 1 sentence kind of thing. Kind of, yeah, for especially considering we had like, I think we had like a group meeting and we had like one-on-one meetings going through all of this and putting it together, and it's kind of like, well, when I put, you know, a bunch of man hours into producing this and I get 1 sentence back, there's a little bit of, well, it doesn't look so good for the National Science Foundation. Like, just maybe try doing some work, you know, like, or at least providing some. It was maybe disheartening a little bit is the right word. I think they would have cared more about their applicants, especially those of us who did not win the award. But I was like, you know what, it kind of let me for the next year. I was kind of like, you know, maybe it's okay if I don't get this, if that's how they're gonna treat me, right? And then, oh, we love you if you win, kind of thing. It's like, what is that called? Kiss up, kick down? I'm like, well, you already kicked me, so clearly you don't want me, so I don't want you either, but do I really have to apply next year? And I did have to apply next year, kind of thing. But like, yeah. So it wasn't, yeah, let's just leave it that way. And the numbers, so the numbers I provided here for the number of the awardees and honorable mentions were published on the website, the National Science Foundation website. They had awardee lists and honorable mention lists. And so I saved those, and I have the originals that they put out in that time. And they come from the specified field of study on the published awardee and honorable mention lists. So there's an actual column in the spreadsheets, field of study. It's not subjective, like I submitted this in the geosciences and biosciences, doing like looking at fossils and like in between volcanic lava flows from a long time ago, and now I want to say I'm a volcanologist. No, this is literally fact what was published in their list and submitted by the applicants themselves at the time, not revisionist in hindsight kind of thing. Yeah, so there's a little bit about that one. Honorable mention, something I did not win, but they were like, you know, you're not worth the money, but the award, or not the award, the application was still good. So that's kind of what an honorable mention means, at least in this case. So a little bit more about an award slash, not award, I guess, honor. And I'm spelling it with the O-U-R because I think that kind of has an air of prestige. So that's why I'm spelling it the British, true English way, I suppose, technically, because English is, well, English in origin.